Hi, welcome to Elijah's Fire. I want to continue today looking at the dark night of the Spirit and where St. John of the Cross is trying to lead us. Remember, St. John of the Cross his goal is to lead us towards union with God. The goal of the spiritual life is union with God. And John wants to lead us through stages to that union. And he's talking about union in this life, not just when we die. He's talking about now, through faith. Later on in heaven, we see God face to face, but in this life, it's always through faith. And he's talking to people who have begun the life of prayer. They meditate on the Bible. They say set prayers to God. They participate in the liturgy. They try to discipline themselves and practice the virtues. They keep the commandments as best as they can. So they're living a spiritual life. And all this is good, and he encourages us to keep practicing it as long as it helps us in our relationship with God. As long as it's helping us grow in our love for God and love for others, he would encourage us to keep using it. And you always use these methods. They never go away completely. But John will say, as we said earlier, that there comes a time in the spiritual life where we no longer feel the desire to use a lot of words and thoughts in our prayer, and we don't get much from it. We're not getting anything from it. Prayer becomes dry. Prayer becomes difficult. And John would say we are being led now to a much more simpler form of prayer. Or if you practice Lectio Divina, you are being led from meditatio to contemplatio, from meditation to contemplation, from a prayer where you may use many words, forms, images, use your understanding, to a prayer that is beyond words, beyond forms, beyond images, beyond your understanding. And John is very ruthless in this. He would say that even visions from God, if you have visions of the saints, if you hear voices from heaven, apparitions, whatever, this is not the goal for John. The goal of the spiritual life is not some marvelous vision. The goal of the spiritual life is union with God through faith. Remember, for John, God is the ultimate mystery, so no vision, no intellectual understanding, no intellectual consideration, no image, nothing we can imagine can ever fully comprehend God, because God is beyond the human. So we must put all these things in a cloud of forgetting. As the book, The Cloud of Unknowing, says, we cannot know what God is. All we can know is that God is. What he is, we will never know. So just let me read you something from St. John of the Cross. It's from the Ascent of Mount Carmel, Book 2, Chapter 15, Paragraph 4. What clearly follows is that when individuals have finished purifying and voiding themselves of all forms and apprehensible images, everything we can think, they will abide in this pure and simple light and be perfectly transformed in it. The light is never lacking to the soul, but because of creature forms and veils that weigh on it and cover it, the light is never infused. So the light of God's presence is always there, but it's sort of covered by all our imaginings and words and thoughts and images. If individuals would eliminate these impediments and veils and live in pure nakedness and poverty of spirit, as we will explain later, their soul in its simplicity and purity would then be immediately transformed into simple and pure wisdom, the Son of God. There you go. When spiritual persons cannot meditate, they should learn to remain in God's presence with a loving attention and a tranquil intellect. Even though they seem themselves to be idle, you might think you're just sitting there doing nothing, for little by little and very soon the divine calm and peace with a wondrous sublime knowledge of God enveloped in divine love will be infused into their souls. They should not interfere with forms or discursive meditations and imaginings. And then John quotes the psalm, "Be still and know that I am God." So what John is leading us towards is what he calls later on the kiss of God, where our naked essence and God's naked essence meet. Our being and God's being meet. Our life and God's life meet. It's like where our life flows from God's life. In contemplative prayer, we're going to the source where we flow out from God, and we become aware of that source. So just let me read you a little bit. In this high state of union with God, God does not communicate himself to the soul, nor is this possible through the disguise of any imaginative visions, likenesses, or figures, but mouth to mouth. The pure and naked essence of God, the mouth of God in love, with the pure and naked essence of the soul, the mouth of the soul in the love of God. There you go. So the naked essence of God and the naked essence of the soul meet in contemplative prayer. And we are always united, but in contemplative prayer we become aware of that union. Hope this helps. Thank you for listening. God bless.